You must extinguish this fear of failure and embrace it.
Wow!
This one is like driving
what? Indonesian people living in Africa?
Society is totally wrong.
Why do they go to school?
The universal power to touch your soul.
My internet friends are my real friends.
The worst possible thing you can do in an accident.
What is body language?
What is home? Just listen.
Okay. So who here has had a motorcycle accident? Then you know a little bit about what I'm going to talk about. My Greenstone project addresses an issue that faces Bali, but also several other countries worldwide. In many developing countries, as people's incomes begin to rise, they suddenly can buy personal motorized transportation. In many of those countries, there's bad roads, bad traffic, and a high population density. So motorbikes tend to be the first thing that they want to buy, rather than a car, which is a lot less affordable and a lot less practical. However, the same factors that limit road infrastructure, traffic control, and population density also limit the availability of emergency medical services, such as ambulances and emergency trained personnel. My first exposure to first response medicine started when I was really young. I grew up in a mountain town, and there was tons, in the community I grew up in, there was tons of backcountry skiing, kayaking, mountaineering, both professionally and recreationally. So many of the people I grew up with had already had medical emergency training, either for a guiding job or just as a matter of safety in pursuing their hobbies. So, by the age of 12, I'd had my first wilderness first aid course, and I thought that was pretty normal. I didn't realize that there was something kind of odd about that. Until I moved to Bali, and I ran into a situation. This is where my love for emergency medicine kind of bloomed. This grew because at the age of 14, after I'd moved here, I found myself the only trained responder in an emergency. I was rescuing my mom, who had broken her back after falling off a 3-meter cliff. And I was the only one that knew how to backboard a spinal injury. The ambulance we called had a driver and a bed, and no trained response. And we eventually got her out. We used a surfboard to cut the fins off as a backboard, and my rescue crew was the other classmates in 7th and 8th grade that were over for a sleepover. After that, I kind of realized the benefit of some of the training I had had. And I decided it'd be great to have some more people in my community and my friends to have the same training. And so we hosted a class. We did a week-long first aid course with several of my friends, some people from the local clinic, and some river guides from Sobek, because we decided that kind of all of them needed some training. After that, I started a first aid club with the friends. It lasted about a year. Last summer, I took a friend of mine from Bali back to the States to do a month-long medical class with me, and that turned out great. Over the last 5 years, I've learned a lot about tropical medicine. I've seen typhoid, dengue, staph infections, you name it. But what I've seen the most are motorcycle accidents. This is in part due to the fact that as a bunch of teenage boys with motorcycles, we tend to do some stupid things. This brings me back to my main topic, motorcycle first aid. All you have to do is hop on a motorcycle in Bali, and you'll kind of get a pretty good idea of many of the major issues. And if you've ever wrecked a motorbike here, you'll understand almost all of them. First of all, motorcycle accidents are really bad. When you wreck a motorcycle, the forces of physics and gravity involved at 40 kilometers an hour are really intense. Your body isn't designed to withstand that kind of force. Usually, your skin's no match for the gravelly roads. And when you two motorbikes collide head-on, it's more like 80, which just makes everything quite a bit worse. The forces of a motorcycle accident can break bones, cause major bleeding, damage internal organs, and just hurt people really badly. Factor number 2, there's no help coming. From a trained medical professional point of view, the way we respond to a motorcycle accident in Bali is really scary. Here's how your typical accident goes. A crowd gathers around the crash. B, the crowd grabs the victim by the arms and legs, drags him off the road. And then C, they throw him into the back of a car or sometimes onto another motorcycle and drive him either to their house or a balian or sometimes to the hospital. In places with developed emergency medical systems, this would be pretty much considered insane. But the many benefits of waiting for trained professional response seem obvious. But in those places, help is there within a minute, sometimes a bit more, thanks to good infrastructure, ambulance dispatchers, and good mobile phone service. Bali doesn't have that, most of it. People here are used to that, and they make do. Makes pretty good sense. They can't help them there, so it's better to get them to somewhere where they can get help as quickly as possible. After years of seeing and responding to motorcycle accidents in Bali, I began to wonder if there was a third way to do it. What if we could get some basic information out in Bali that would allow the citizen responders to keep coming to the rescue, but just be a little more trained, have a little better knowledge about some of the few things they could do to really help someone in with those emergencies? What if I could create a simple training that could be spread through the internet, by word of mouth, or on national television even, that would give them this information? What I came up with was a 15 to 20 minute video that I could post on the internet in English and Indonesian. I wanted to make a video that would, if nothing else, give those who saw it the training to get someone safely off of the road, and do a few of the simple things like stop major bleeding that could save that person's life in the half hour it'll take them to get to a hospital. I loved the idea, and so I began writing a script. I wrote out scene by scene what I was going to put in it, what information was relevant to the environment here, and what I could do without, because there was a lot of my training that wasn't necessary for this situation. Then I ran into a problem. Okay, so I'm going to check to make sure her airway is open and... Oh my god. Well, through and through, the idea is I don't know how to act. And I don't know the first thing about filmmaking. So I was facing a pretty big decision here. I could keep going with the movie, and it would probably be unbearable to watch. My goal is to spread this to as many people as possible, and as anyone who's tried to teach anyone anything will tell you, presentation's pretty key for getting your information across. I realized that what I could do by myself probably wasn't going to be the viral YouTube success I was looking for.